Since 2019, I have hosted 2 month-long Junk Journal challenges, Junk Journal January and Junk Journal July. 31 daily prompts with one simple idea. Just show up each day and create in your art journal. Each day presented a single word or phrase that acted as a Kickstarter for making a page, and it was designed as a way to beat that fear of the blank page and overcome the struggle of thinking, I don't know what to make today. Every prompt was an idea to respond to, a material to pick up, or a layout to use, a path to follow. In this video, I wanted to share why I have decided to step back from the Junk Journal challenges and share 3 things that I have learned whilst doing these daily challenges. And I'll also share what's coming next. So the first thing I learned, creating every day is hard. Daily prompts were the push I needed, I think, to keep creating, even if it was outside of my comfort zone, especially if it was outside of my comfort zone. While I've never been able to complete the coveted 100-day project, a month seemed just about manageable. And to do this, I gave myself some guidelines to make following the prompts a little bit easier. So I would use a box or a basket for my main supplies that I wanted to use each day. This helped to reduce decision fatigue. The junk mail envelopes and the assorted papers were ready to go when I showed up to my journal page. Sometimes I would set a timer to keep myself accountable and to not get distracted. This could mean just 10 minutes, or it could mean an episode of Vanderpump Rules. I tried to not be afraid of new techniques or layouts. After all, there was always another page tomorrow. And lastly, no buying new supplies. Junk journaling is really all about using what we have anyway, and I didn't want that pressure of needing to have the perfect supplies in order to start. The second thing I learned is that repetition is necessary, but limits are not. Showing up again and again and again each day for the prompts allowed me to lean into one of my favorite ways to work, which is a no-sew junk journal. I make them from paper scraps, patchworking them into pages of a concertina journal, all held together by my trusty Pritt Stick glue stick. They lie flat across my desk and I can paste in bits from my days and anything related to the prompts. Being able to work across multiple pages like this gave me so much flexibility and freedom to create, rather than being confined to just one spread. Working with limited supplies or colours, of course, has its own merits, but when it came to the journal itself, I discovered that filling these accordion-style journals filled me with joy, and I've absolutely loved using them. So now when I don't know what journal I want to make next, I find myself returning to the no-sew journal. And the third thing I learned is that you will make bad art, and that is okay. Creating a new journal page every single day for an entire month means the flops are pretty much guaranteed. I learned to embrace them and use them as tools. So this page here, I absolutely hated the left-hand side of it when I made it. The vision in my head was a crisp contrast with the stenciled pattern, and I think I'd built that up so much in my head that the reality was not what I expected, because the result was just a blobby mess on the page. And so by doing these prompts, I tried to dig deeper into why I thought the page was bad or ugly or just wrong. Was it the type of paint that I used and how I applied it? Was I feeling resistance to the contrast against the neutral tones that I already had on the page? What would I do differently next time? Asking myself these questions in this way has led me to see my prompt journals as much more of reference books almost for my creative practice. So they're filled with the failed experiments and the clever cover-ups and the occasional hidden gem. Of course, once I've stepped away from my desk to make a cup of tea and take a deep breath. I often find myself flicking through them for inspiration and looking back at how far I've come over these years of creating for these daily challenges. So small actions add up to 403 days of journaling prompts, to be precise. A recurring theme in my art journals lately has been growth. I've scattered fussy cut florals and found words across many a page, hoping they land in the right place. Bloom where you are planted, I whisper to my ephemera. As I tend to the seeds I have sown this spring in the hope they grow into my dream of a cottage garden, I've been reminded of how much growth is unseen. Looking back at my prompt journal pages, I can see the lessons I've learned growing under the surface, like the root system. So I'm holding space, if you will, and I've decided to press pause on these challenges, which kind of feel scary but also necessary in equal measure. It's a challenge that works after all, not to mention how many of you amazing creative people take part in them each time, which I have always been so grateful for, and it really does fill me with joy to see everyone's pages each time and how excited everybody gets to join in with this little challenge on this corner of the internet. But to create, we must also choose what not to create. And I want to make space to nurture ideas that intrigue me, wander down the new path, and I think I need to embrace the uncertainty a little. But I can't say goodbye to prompts forever though. I want to shift from creating in these concentrated bursts to cultivating a slower, more sustainable and regular creative practice. So that's why I wanted to introduce you to Catalysts and Curiosities. My aim with this is to offer you fortnightly prompts that go beneath the surface, ones that give you and me space to slow down and peek into all the nooks and crannies. So rather than having day after day of prompts for only a month and then nothing, this is something that is more continuous, which I know quite a few of you have always asked, when we're doing the July challenge, is there then going to be an August challenge, etc. So I feel like this is kind of, in a way, achieving that as well. So it's an invitation to be mindful, to be introspective and take action in our creative practice, whatever form that may take. So this isn't restricted to just junk journals. This is any kind of journaling or art making that you want, which I think is what Junk Journal January and July kind of evolved from anyway. Like it started off very much rooted within just junk journaling, but it became so much more than that. And I know so many of you use the prompts in so many creative ways. So I'm hoping that this is a way that we can notice, reflect, and make in a more sustainable way. So in each of the fortnightly newsletters, I'll dive into a specific theme related to creativity, share some thoughts, some ideas. I'm thinking a little bit like a commonplace book vibe is what I'm going for. And then at the end, you'll get a 3-part prompt related to that you can follow. So it will be split into 3 parts. You will get a snippet or a quote or an observation to think about. Then there will be either a material or a technique or a subject matter to focus on. And then finally, some colour palettes to consider. So these are almost like the tools then that you can use and take in any direction that you want. So they will be broad enough that you can, like I said, dive into all those little nooks and crannies and explore the different ways that you can use them. So the idea isn't that you would necessarily just create one page. You're more than welcome to use it however you would like within your journaling. You're invited to take what's useful, to cut out what's not, and stick it back together in your own magical way. Scribble notes, create one page, create multiple pages, make ephemera, collect inspiration, or just simply take it in. I'll then also share how I've responded to the catalysts and curiosities within my own journals. The first issue will go out on the first Friday in May, and the previous editions will stay available if you ever want to dive into prompts from the previous weeks. This is all completely free. Don't worry, there's no paywalling or anything like that. This is an open invitation for anybody who would like to join me on this little creative journey. I will leave the link down below to Substack where you can sign up for the newsletter and you will get it delivered to your inbox via email, or you can also read it on their website and join me for this creative journey. So I hope you'll enjoy joining me for this and following on this new path wherever it may lead.